Anxiety is something many of us have faced, whether in moments of uncertainty, pressure, or unexpected changes. I clearly remember a time when it seemed to control every aspect of my day. It was as if a cloud was always present, overshadowing the good things in life. My heart raced for no reason, and my mind jumped from worry to worry, like a scratched record that wouldn't stop playing. It was only when I paused to take a closer look that I realized how anxiety was shaping my decisions, my behavior, and even my health. For instance, I found myself procrastinating simple tasks, feeling afraid of not doing well enough. Sleeping became a challenge because my mind never switched off. And the people around me? Well, I was so consumed by my own thoughts that I ended up distancing myself from them without realizing it. Discovering that I wasn't alone in this feeling was a relief. Many women, especially in middle age, face these same challenges. We live in a fast-paced world, filled with expectations, and it's easy to feel pressured to meet them. But recognizing this is the first step toward transformation. That's when I realized that anxiety didn't have to be my constant companion. There was a way out, and that way began with something incredibly simple: breathing. It sounds basic, but when I started to sit down, close my eyes, and focus on the air coming in and out of my body, something magical happened. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had control over something. It was like an anchor pulling me back to the present moment, away from the storms of my mind. If you also feel overwhelmed by anxiety, know that there is hope. It's not about eliminating it, but rather learning to understand it and transform it into something lighter, more manageable. And believe me, it all starts with a small step. Have you ever tried simply stopping for a moment and focusing on your breath? Try it now. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose, letting the air out slowly through your mouth. How does that make you feel? When I started to explore meditation as a way to cope with my anxiety, the first lesson I learned was about the power of the present moment. It seems simple, doesn't it? Being present. But if we stop to think, how many times are we really here, in the now? My mind, for instance, always split between the past, reliving uncomfortable situations, and the future, trying to predict problems that might not even happen. I remember a specific day when this became very clear. I was walking in a beautiful park surrounded by trees and flowers, but my head was so full of thoughts about bills, deadlines, and difficult conversations that I could hardly notice where I was. It was only when I sat down on a bench and decided to listen to the sounds around me, the birds singing, the rustling of leaves, that something changed. For the first time that day, my mind fell silent. That's when I realized anxiety lives in the past and the future, but never in the present. When we learn to connect to the present moment, we give our minds a break from worries. This doesn't mean that problems magically disappear, but you face them with more clarity and less weight, and that makes all the difference. One practice that helped me a lot in this process was the body scan. Have you ever tried it? It's simple. Just sit or lie down comfortably and bring your attention to each part of your body, starting from your feet and moving up to your head. As you do this, you notice tensions you didn't even know were there. And by releasing those tensions, you feel a calmness spreading through your body, as if you were letting go of a weight. Presence isn't something that happens automatically. It's a muscle that needs to be exercised. The more you practice, the more you notice the benefits, not just in your anxiety, but in how you approach life as a whole. Each present moment is an opportunity for a fresh start, to find peace amid chaos. How about trying the body scan practice right now? Take a few minutes to connect with your body and observe how you feel afterward. Sometimes it's in the small moments of presence that we find the greatest transformations. I used to be an expert at worrying. It was as if my mind created endless scenarios of what could go wrong, and each one felt more real and frightening than the last. Once I spent an entire night thinking about how to solve a problem at work, only to discover the next day that it didn't even exist in the way I had imagined. Anxiety does that to us. It traps us in a cycle of worries that drains our energy and prevents us from living fully. When I discovered meditation, I couldn't believe it could really help with this. I used to think, how is sitting in silence going to solve my problems? But gradually, I understood that meditation wasn't about solving worries, but rather about changing my relationship with them. One of the most transformative practices I learned was non-judgmental observation. It works like this. Instead of trying to push away anxious thoughts, you simply observe them as if you were a spectator. Imagine your mind as the sky and your thoughts as clouds. Some clouds are light and pass quickly. Others are heavy and linger longer. But none of them are permanent. I remember the first time I managed to apply this practice during a moment of anxiety. I was worried about an important decision, and my mind wouldn't stop thinking about the worst possible scenario. I decided to sit and just observe my thoughts. I realized that deep down, it was the fear of making a mistake that was bothering me. Just acknowledging it, without trying to resist or fight against it, brought a sense of relief. It felt like I had lifted a weight off my shoulders. Over time, this practice helped me realize that my thoughts are not absolute truths. They are merely interpretations, stories that my mind creates. And when I can see them this way, they lose the power to control me. If you also feel that your worries have been holding you back, try this. The next time you feel anxiety rising, pause for a moment, take a deep breath, and observe your thoughts as if they were clouds. Ask yourself, what is really behind this? You might be surprised by the answers. I never considered myself a calm person. When things went wrong, my reaction was immediate. My heart would race, my mind would go on high alert, and I would find myself trying to fix everything at once. I remember one particularly hectic morning. I was late, the traffic was terrible, and when I arrived at work, I realized I had forgotten an important document. That was enough to make me feel like the entire day was ruined before it even started. It was in this daily chaos that I realized how much I needed something to anchor me. We can't control the world around us, but we can control how we react to it. And that's how meditation began to become an essential part of my life. One practice that helped me a lot was conscious breathing. It seems simple, but it is incredibly powerful. Whenever I felt overwhelmed, I would stop what I was doing, close my eyes, and focus on breathing deeply through my nose, counting to 4, and then exhaling through my mouth, counting to 6. Just a few minutes of this practice were enough to completely change my state of mind. A significant experience was during a discussion at work. I could feel my anxiety rising as I tried to defend my point of view. Instead of reacting impulsively, I took a pause, breathed deeply, and responded calmly. Not only did I manage to keep the conversation productive, but I also noticed that the other person began to listen to me more attentively. It was a small moment, but it showed me the power of cultivating calm, even in challenging situations. Life is full of surprises and challenges, but when you learn to cultivate calm, it's like having an internal refuge to which you can always return. No matter what happens around you, you know you have the tools to face any situation with more balance. When was the last time you stopped to breathe consciously? Try it now. Inhale deeply, counting to 4, and exhale, counting to 6. Repeat a few times and see how you feel. Small pauses like this can transform even the most chaotic days. There was a moment in my life when anxiety seemed to be my only companion. I felt lost, directionless, as if I were just surviving from day to day. I would wake up every morning with a sense of emptiness and go to bed thinking about what was wrong. It was as if something was missing, but I didn't know what it was. It was during a conversation with a friend that everything started to change. She asked me something simple yet profound. What makes you feel alive? I was at a loss for words. My routine was so filled with responsibilities and worries that I couldn't even remember the last time I did something that truly brought me joy or purpose. That question echoed in my mind. I then decided to take some time to explore that question. I started by writing down things that had always interested me, but that I had set aside because of the rush of life: art, nature, helping others. Small interests that gradually transformed into significant changes. One day I volunteered to help with a community project. It was something simple, organizing donations for families in need. But at that moment, something clicked. By focusing on something greater than my own problems, I realized that my anxiety diminished. Not because my challenges had disappeared, but because I was connected to something that truly mattered to me. This experience taught me that finding purpose does not mean discovering the answer to all of life's questions. It's about allowing yourself to explore, trying new things, and discovering what makes you feel whole. When you find something that energizes you, even in small doses, it can become an anchor amidst the storms of anxiety. Have you ever asked yourself what makes you feel alive? Take a few minutes today to think about it, and if you can, try something new that you've always wanted to do. Perhaps the purpose you seek is waiting to be discovered in the little things. Throughout this journey, we've explored ways to cope with anxiety that go beyond quick and superficial solutions. Each practice, each reflection, is a step toward cultivating a deeper connection with yourself and the present moment. Whether through self-awareness, finding calm amid chaos, or discovering purpose, each experience invites us to see that life doesn't have to be a constant cycle of worries. I want you to remember, anxiety does not define who you are. It is merely a part of the journey, and every choice you make to face it, no matter how small, is an act of courage and self-compassion. And finally, don't forget that you are not alone on this path. If this video brought you any comfort or reflection, share it with someone who might need to hear these words. Let's continue to create a space where we can grow, learn, and support one another. Thank you so much for allowing me to be part of your day. I'll see you in the next video, where we will explore another topic that could transform the way you live and feel about life. Until then,